Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Silver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
That's right. We are young, we are fresh, we are alive, and we're giving away cash. Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Marshall Silver. Welcome to Marshall Silver Live, episode number, I think we're at episode number 30. How cool is that? And we're crushing it, baby. You know, we're minor right now, headed toward the majors, about to hit a grand slam out of the park just to say, what the heck? Why are you holding me back? What would be a grand slam? It'd be a grand slam if you won $7,000 today. That would be a grand slam. And all you got to do is say the secret word that's inside of this folded piece of paper. And the Oscar goes to, you know, they stopped saying, and the winner is at the Oscars, because the people that didn't win, that implied they were losers. And because Hollywood's so filled with snowflakes, they couldn't handle the idea that they didn't actually win the Oscar. So the Oscar committee literally voted on the idea to say, and the Oscar goes to. And when I read that, I was amused because I'm thinking to myself, are they not smart enough to realize if the Oscar goes to one person, it didn't go to the other ones, which made them losers? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm amused by the wokeness of people, which you won't find here. You won't find it because you know me. I like to spank people. Unfortunately, some people enjoy spankings. That's not to suggest our guest coming up enjoys spankings. I'm not sure about that. I won't deny it. I'm not sure about it. Anyways, we've got $7,000. All you got to do is say the secret word coming up in the second part of our show, and you could win $7,000 cash. Plus, you could win 10 ounces of pure Marshall silver minted. I just saw that silver is about to go through the roof, that the pricing on silver is about to escalate. And I've known that. That's the reason that we give away the silver bars. This isn't fake. This isn't, pseudo silver. No, this is the real deal, spelled with a Y. That's what it is. We built the dies, we built the presses, and they impressed these gorgeous 10-ounce silver bars. Speaking of winners, yesterday we had a number of callers on the show. And overwhelmingly yesterday, I'm not sure whether he played the, I'm going in for heart surgery sympathy card or not, but I think he did. So congratulations, Randy Holden. You are the winner of 10 ounces of pure silver from Marshall Silver. You are loved. Very much you are loved. One of my favorite people, actually. So I'm glad you called into the show, and congrats on that. I look forward to giving it to you in person. Today's show is especially exciting for me. This person is the trifecta. She is. And I don't say that very often. In fact, I don't know that I say that about a lot of people other than my wife. My wife is smart. She's talented. She's beautiful. Our guest today as you probably figured out, is not a man. It's a woman. And I've been getting some grief that we don't have enough ladies on. And it's not that I don't want to have more ladies on. Heck, I would do all ladies if it was up to me. It's just that, again, it's exceptional. And again, I didn't make these rules. This person is massively exceptional. In fact, so much so that I pay her big bucks every month. And her name is Moncy Brambila. And Moncy is the founder of Exposure Digital Media and Marketing. She's changing the game in media production and distribution. Her mission is clear: to harness the law of exposures. Because once you've been exposed, you can't be unexposed. Remember that, Diddy. Moncy's worked with your favorite social media influencers, and you all know all the people she's working with. You've seen her work online. You probably didn't realize she was behind the scenes making it all happen. In fact, that's how I found her. She was working on a friend of mine's podcast, thought she was doing an amazing job for him. She's achieved massive success, over 1 billion views across all platforms for her clients. They knock it out of the park. Her and her partner, Nick, great people, good business people, great at their job. It is a pleasure to welcome Moncy Brambila to the show with a nice Marshall Silver Live welcome. Welcome, Moncy. See ya.
Thank you for having me here, Marshall. I'm so excited.
You are amazing. You really are. And again, I just compliment you on everything that you've done. You've worked with so many amazing people, including myself, I mean, and you guys do solid work, which is very rare, frankly, inside of the marketing space. You probably heard me talk about it. If you're watching the show, my own personal opinion is most marketing people are just full of crap. And
yeah, I remember hearing that from the Alex Uribe podcast that you did with him, and you're 100% right. It's such an easy barrier of entry to get into the marketing game, and so many people take advantage of other people. And there's just you got to filter through all the marketers out there for sure.
And I don't even, and thank you for saying that. I don't even think that they're taking advantage of people. I think that most of them are well-intentioned. I just think they're talentless. And again, that's a harsh thing to say. And I get it. I get on stages and I speak and I sell things. If I get on a stage and I do a donut, meaning I sell nothing, guess what? That promoter's not inviting me back because I didn't do my job. And it's the same thing inside of the marketing space. Obviously, you've worked with a lot of well-known people. Are there any of the people that you work with that you can mention besides myself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can mention Eric Worre, Eric Spofford, Wes Watson, Coy Sperber, just to name those. I've done work with Stormy Wellington, Dan Fleischman. So there's those are the few that I can mention. A lot of other ones are under NDA. I can't mention every single one of them. But those are a few of the ones that are more well-known in the space.
Hey, Tom, I'm hearing distortion on Moncy. I don't know if that's just coming through on mine or whether that's her feed. Can you give me some insight as to what might be causing that distortion while we're working on this? How long have you been doing the business?
So I started Exposure Digital Marketing 6 years ago. And I went all in about 2 years ago. So I was in San Diego only. I was just within my own little niche here. I was doing just real estate. And it wasn't until 2 years ago where I wanted to expand. I'm a social butterfly. I love being at events. I love being I love networking. I love all that. So I decided 2 years ago to really empower that and just like empower myself, and decided to go to like different masterminds, go to different networking events, and just expand my reach in that way. And doing so and having that personality of like really building those relationships and not handling it in a transactional approach, I was able to build my network and then get clients in that way. So there are people that I have had relationships with for the last few years, and they didn't become a client up until like maybe a few months ago or maybe a year ago or something. But that's because when I didn't go about it on the transactional approach.
What makes you different?
Honestly, it's the personality. So my fiance and my partner Nick, he always says, and like I have my necklace right here. It says Moncy exclamation point, and he says I'm such a walking exclamation point no matter where I come in. So it's like as soon as I walk in the doors, he's just like, you're just this like person people gravitate to. And it's not just like me trying to toot my own horn saying like, oh, I'm pretty or anything. It's the personality that really stands out. I'm always laughing. I always have a smile on my face. I like to make people's days more vibrant if I can and more positive if I can. And I like providing solutions. So I really do like doing that for like people and my clients alone.
Very cool. Yeah, I just got a note back. Your mic might be clipping, so I don't know
Got
if,
it.
if that's an
Let's see.
adjustment on your end. What goes into good social media? Obviously, there's all sorts of things. We just started this show, and we were looking at the numbers that the show's produced. We're 30 episodes in, so we're fairly new. We're just over a month old. What goes into good social media? I know you do a lot of posts around the internet. Not everybody has seen all of them. So, what's your take on that? Now you're muted. You're muted still.
Can you hear me
There
now?
we go. Yes.
So you want to be posting as much as you can on social media. It's one of those numbers game. The more people see you, the more people are going to find you. It's sort of like the Gary Vee approach. Like, just continue posting as much as you can all the time, and people are going to find you at one way. Some people may find you annoying, and that's fine. That's not the audience that you want anyways. You want to find the people that's going to come into your doors and just want to seek more from you. So for us, we always go on the whole thing of, you want to be posting at least once a day, and that's just like the baseline. That's just like, okay, let's get started. Let's go after the data. Let's see what more we can grow with on this. And then once we start seeing growth in that platform, or we start seeing like really good solutions from like the audience and stuff, that's when we go ahead and start bringing it up to like maybe 3 times a day, maybe 4. We have some clients doing 6 posts a day. And so it's just very dependent on who the person is. But the more you saturate the market, the better in return you're going to get. And the perfect example, Marshall, is you. You're doing a daily live broadcast every single day, Monday through Friday, for 2 hours. That's unheard of. There's people that do pre-recorded podcasts. They don't do live podcasts. So usually it's pre-recorded, but you're committing to 2 hours every single day, along with posting on social media every single day, on the weekends, no matter what. So if people haven't heard of you yet, they will soon.
That whole philosophy of making sure you're putting out a volume of content versus a quality of content is something like Gary Vee, like you said, he subscribes to that. Alex Hormozi subscribes to that. In fact, I saw a clip a while ago that Alex was talking about his conversation with Grant Cardone. And Grant said, "How often do you post?" And Alex said, "Once a day." And he said, "Hey, that's the challenge." And he said, "How often do you post?" And Grant said, 10 times a day. And, you said it, and I think that's key for everybody listening to pay attention, that I had 2 guys, Ryan Dice, Perry Belcher, very well-known marketers. Roland Frazier had not yet joined their ranks at the time. But Ryan and Perry were sitting on my couch in my home in Vegas, and we were talking about things. We just met, and they said, "How big's your mail list?" And I said, "It's X." And they said, "How often do you mail?" And I said, "Hey, every couple of weeks, whenever we've got an event going on." And they said, "You don't have a list." And I said, "Well, how often do you mail to your list?" They said, "Every day." I said, "Oh my God." They said, "In fact, 2 or 3 times a day." And I said, "Don't people opt out?" And they said, "All the time." But those aren't our customers. And, if I go on my social media feed, if I go on Instagram and I scroll through the feed, every 3rd post, it seems, is Grant Cardone. And the other ones that aren't Grant Cardone are Brad Lee. So,
which is one in the same
again,
somewhat.
people will opt out. They'll unfollow you if they're really annoyed. But it's just that idea of being consistently in somebody's face that I don't think people can do it on their own. I don't think an individual, certainly I couldn't. But I don't think most individuals could do that. They need a team, or they need an agency like what you guys do. How do you, and I know that we've worked on this with my account, how do you guys figure out the voice of the accounts that you're managing and the people that you're helping to promote?
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest questions that we get all the time, because there's no way that we can ever replicate yourself, and have like that actual perfect tonality of you. Like, there's no way we can have another Marshall Silver. Would it be great? Absolutely it would. But what we do is go back on previous recordings of you. That's why we have like a certain niche. We work with entrepreneurs. We have people that have already done previous recordings, previous podcasts, or different live events in that way. So that way we can get a really good pitch as to how it is that they speak in person. How is it that they actually communicate with others? So like when someone has a book, that's probably like the biggest way that we can actually go about writing in their style and finding their tone, because we can always refer back to that of like, okay, this is their style. They're very articulate, they're very like grammatically correct. Or it can be someone like myself who's like speaks more direct, speaks a little bit more slang on my social media. You know, every single person is completely different. But what we do is like during the onboarding process, if you decide to go with the social media managing side, we go through a process of like getting to know you in the terms of like the social media manager that's in charge of your channel is dissecting and, you know, digesting every single bit of you. So whether it's a book, whether it's a live event, previous podcasts you were a guest on or had a previous podcast, any way, even previous posts that you had done, just to get a good sign of who you are. We also do like a questionnaire when people are doing an onboarding as far as like what kind of tonality they want. Like, do they want to be more friendly? Do they want to be very direct? Like, what is the style that they're going for? Knowing that we can pivot at any single point, and also getting a good idea and understanding of what the post is going to be like. Obviously, if it's something that's sad or maybe like, you know, something bad happened, we're not going to write in a joyful tone. We're probably going to write in a more like serious kind of tone, or just something where people can get to learn more about it. Vice versa, if it's something joyful, we're not going to write in a serious tone either. So it's just very dependent on the person, but doing the onboarding definitely helps, and having a social media manager that's just for you, it's just the best way to go about it. Because for example, in exposure digital marketing, we cap our social media managers to just have one client underneath them. So that way their focus is completely on that client themselves. So like for you, Marshall, you only have one social media manager at all times, and that's her only client. So you're her only client because of the daily podcast and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like constantly on you. Other people who don't have the daily podcast and may have like a podcast that releases one time a week, they have probably two clients underneath them. But we always draw a line as far as the cap, because we don't want them to get spread thin and then just post things that aren't necessarily of good value on social media, because that's the ultimate thing. We want to provide value or education or entertainment in some kind of way.
So tell me, what's the context of a post? You know, I have a belief that you've got to entertain, educate, and then empower people. What's your philosophy behind that?
Absolutely. No, I believe in the same way. So before, it used to just be like value, entertainment, and education. You know, that's something that I really believed in. But now more so than ever is showing a little bit more about like the personal brand side of things. You know, it's like, this is what I like to do. This is what I enjoy doing. It's showing a little bit more of who you are, not what you do exactly. So it's just, you know, getting a better understanding of that. But for every single context, every single caption, you want to provide education. You know, like what value is someone going to go out of this post with? You know, is it entertainment where people are just laughing? You know, there's not necessarily a need for the caption or anything like that, but what's going to keep them coming? Like maybe you can do a tag and a collaboration in that way, where maybe people will follow one another in that sense. But as far as value goes, that's the biggest one. You know, it's just like, at least for my social media, your social media, what we want to do is provide value for people to continue coming. You know, people want to go on your social platform to make sure that they're continuously learning their information on a single daily basis. At the same time too, not giving everything away, because you do have, you know, you have your events, you have, you know, your groups and all that kind of, you have your inner circle. I have my company and all that. You want to give just enough where they can want more from you. So rather than do it themselves, they'll want to use you instead also.
You know, there's a lot of social media that, in my experience, is just silly. You know, whether it's cats or people constantly posting pictures of their food, and I don't get it. I just don't understand it. I don't like wasting time, and I like silly things. I laugh like anybody else, except I don't understand how a video with 4 kittens gets 1 million views. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, and I think that's more so on the sense of like people want mindless stuff also. You know, like maybe they had a hard day at work. You know, they're just scrolling on social media and they see something that's cute, it's funny. You know, they're just like, it's just completely mindless. So that just builds more of that attraction, not necessarily something of value or any good context in that way. You know, it's just more fun for them in that sense. But people have mastered monetizing their social media based off just like those kittens or the dogs or just funny memes or any of that kind of stuff. It's like Mr. Beast. I mean, look at him. Like he's doing all these crazy videos on YouTube, and he's the highest performing YouTuber there is. And it's like there's not a lot of like value or education. It's just more entertainment in that sense. But there's a masterful art to all like the funny, cute posts. But that's because people, they go on social media as like a sense of relief, not necessarily as a sense of like, oh, I need to go here and learn. Like that's not the first type of mentality that they go on social media for. It's just like an escape of reality and just go into like a rabbit hole of just scrolling.
I, completely understand the escape. So I guess that comes down to the question: if I'm doing videos of cats or whatever it is, and they're kind of just silly escapist videos, how does that compare or relate to somebody who does more educational content, like myself, or maybe even a Gary V or any number of other people that are doing content based, educational based content? Which is better? I mean, if I'm running a business, obviously Mr. Beast, Jimmy's doing, his company's worth $2 billion, already had a $1 billion offer that he turned down. What's better? I mean, should I start doing $1 million cash giveaways?
I mean, honestly, it's very dependent on the person. It's for you, you provide a lot of value and you have all this information behind you. You have all many years of, of experience that you can share. A lot of these people getting into it don't have that value that they can necessarily provide, but they just found a niche in where they can make money, where they're just like, I'm just going to post funny cats and I'm going to win. But there's also the people that do a mixture of both. A great example of this is actually Cody Sperber. Under the Clever Investor, you will find that he provides value, education on real estate, on entrepreneurship, on business, and all that great stuff. But he also posts his fair share of memes, his funny videos. He does skits himself, so he has a great mixture of both. So he's hitting on the target of like entertainment and he's hitting on the target of education. And honestly, based on just that alone, that's winning. I wouldn't say funny memes and funny cats and all that stuff is like the number one, nor will I say just education is going to be the number one. Because like Alex Hormozy, he does great at providing value and education, but there's other accounts out there that do far better than his do. So I would say having a great mixture of both, if you want to be known for like the funny guy or anything like that, which Cody is known for that, it's having that will definitely escalate you.
Who do you think shouldn't do social media?
There's a lot of people out there that shouldn't be doing social media. No, people who are just fake, people who are not authentic, especially if you're coming about it as far as like providing value and education and you're just ripping off someone else's post or anything like that. And I've seen that happen with my posts where I've seen someone plagiarize my postings or, my videos or anything like that. People who plagiarize and people who are not authentic or cannot come up with the concepts themselves, they shouldn't be posting on social media. They're coming about it from the wrong way for just like the ego-ness of like, I just want followers. I just, want to make money. I just want to be seen. So those kind of people, the ones that are not authentic and provide real value and can back it up with information and data, those should not be on social media. And I mean it in the form of like a creator. If you're just watching and you're digesting all the, on social media, just watching, that's completely fine. Everyone should have a social media platform handle at all times. But if you're a creator, the ones who shouldn't are the ones that are not authentic.
So on that topic, one of a very solid business strategy is to find something somebody else is doing and do it better. So if I go down to Louisiana, which I have been, and I'm walking on the waterfront there, and I see some guy with a taffy shop, and he's mixing the taffy on the table, with the giant broom, and he's singing and telling jokes, and I see this crowd of 150 people there watching this guy make candy. And I realized they got to make the candy anyway to sell it, but he's making it entertaining, which drew the crowd, which then sold the candy. And then I go back to San Diego and I go, God, what a great idea. Let's put one down in Seaport Village. Let's do one of those there. That's a good business strategy. how you just said, somebody watching somebody else's video and saying, "Ah, that's a great idea for a video." Do you think that there's any uh value in somebody saying, "I'm going to do something similar," or do you think that's considered flat out theft? Or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I like that concept. I like, like if I see a video and I'm like, oh, that actually there's 100% truth to it, that like my audience deserves to know that too, because my audience is completely different from theirs. But the people who straight up plagiarize other people's like videos, the same writing, the same caption, like those are the people that should be like absolutely not. So like grab the concept, make it better if you can, or turn it into something that's more in your language. So that way, if you're comparing apples to apples, it's apples and oranges, not just like apples and apples right there. Because I mean, like I said, I've seen plagiarism at its worst, and some people have gotten into a lot of deep trouble for it because it's technically their property at that point. And so for me, I'm just like, look, if you're going to get a concept on social media and you want to recreate it, which people do all the time with all these like TikTok trends and all the Instagram trends and all that going on. So people do it all the time, but make it your own. Like add some value in there, add some authenticity of like, yes, even though I got it from them, I'm going to add my Moncy spin on it to make it my own.
I had a guest on yesterday, actually, and we were talking about copycats, and we were talking about how you deal with copycats. And I used to go to other people's shows that were copying me, their live performances. I'd sit in the front row and just stare at them. And more than once, the hypnotist would see me there, and then suddenly they'd say, "Hey, I'm doing a tribute show to Marshall Silver, and he happens to be in the audience right now." And I'm laughing because they wouldn't be doing a tribute if I wasn't there. They would just be doing my material. And so after I got tired of showing up, I would hire people to show up. And then I just said, you know what? Just be better. Just be bigger. Be so good they can't catch up. Be so good that if somebody copies you, everybody else says, "Oh, they're just copying Marshall Silver." Um,
At the
Women,
same
men,
time,
what
it's
do
sort
you
of
think?
like a compliment to you, It's just like they look at you like you provide value and you're providing great information or you're doing a great event or a great show. So if anything, that's a great compliment. It's the best form of flattery right there.
Yeah, but if everybody wants to date my wife, I'm hardly finding it flattering. So
Touche,
just a thought.
touche. You did great though.
Men, women, obviously social media is media, and media, sex sells.
Always.
Obviously, you're a gorgeous woman, and if you don't mind me saying,
Oh, not
obviously,
at all.
I know you know this. You use your beauty, you use your appeal. I mean, that's part of what your brand is.
Hmm.
How much, should I go topless? I guess is the question. That's the question. No, how much, how much should people utilize that kind of an appeal inside their social media, or are they painting themselves into a corner and branding themselves in a way that they won't be able to monetize later on?
I think the latter, if you decide to do everything topless or decide to just be very showy in all senses, you're going to eventually maybe mature down the line or get older and just be like, I wish I wouldn't have done that. There's a lot of women out there, especially with like all the OnlyFans stuff going on, or even just previous podcasts that they did. And so they're just like, I wish I didn't do that. I was young, I was naive. I wish I didn't like show all that of myself. But to an extent, yes, sex sells. But sex can also come in the way of like, of how you talk, how you communicate, what you wear, in the sense where like I don't necessarily have to wear things that are very revealing, but the presence alone itself is what really like brings that like that quote unquote sexiness to it, kind of thing. It's like it's the personality, it's the confidence, it's how you hold yourself, the composure. Like, are you sitting back in the corner and just taking people talking in the whole time, or are you also conversating with everyone too? So when it comes to like taking the shirt off or doing all that kind of stuff, or girls, especially nowadays on social media where it's becoming more like porn, honestly. And it's just like, at some point, do I feel they're going to regret that one day? I would like to think yes, they will at some point, but some won't, and that's fine. That's their own decision and all that. But to a
So I
certain
have a
point,
tattoo of a butterfly on my lower back. Are you telling me that one day it's going to look like an eagle?
It'll go back to being a caterpillar. Yes.
Yeah, maybe. The skin sags a little bit. Hey, flap those wings, Grandpa. Um,
There's
you
just
know,
certain things, that should
again,
be hidden.
I believe sex sells, and I would
Yes,
agree. But
absolutely.
I also think that part of the challenge for people is, yes, you're right, that again, if sex is the hook and there's no substance, then sex is the hook, and people get old. You know,
Yes.
I've always thought J-Lo was sexy, and then the other day I saw a picture of her, and I had to realize the woman's 60 years old now. And just to be clear, I never thought Madonna was sexy ever. Just to be clear. But again, that's the thing, is that I think the other challenge is that people don't see how their brand can evolve. They don't
Absolutely.
realize that, and you said it up front. You said authenticity. I'm at level 61. I reached level 62 May 19th, right down the date. And for me, I want people to know me as a family man. I want people to know me as a guy that loves his wife, loves his children, and loves helping people have a better life. Unfortunately, it's not always sexy. It's just not always, everybody wants it for sure, but it's just not one of those things that stops the scroll. So how does a guy like me, how do I do things that would make this podcast, make this broadcast explode? What kind of stuff is inbounds and what might be out of bounds?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I'm going to like in-person stuff always, the photos you can get with the guests, just showing who you are and where you're at, like especially in your houses, in the Las Vegas one and the San Diego one, like they're gorgeous homes. So even just sharing that, like sharing what you've accomplished in life. So sexy doesn't necessarily have to be like what you're wearing, what you're showing, what you're not showing. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a family man, like I think it's like I think it's sexy when there's a man who's all about their family, who's all about his wife, who's just like, my wife is the best person there is, like she's my number one and all that. So that itself, it's like it's a different form of sexy, and it's just like same thing with the podcast. You want to be taking photos with the guests, you want to be sharing them off, you want, like, every single guest is a different different piece of candy, let's put it that way. And so each person has their own flavor. And when you post it on social media, each person that's watching your social media is going to be more attracted to certain other people. And then when you add value and you add, what it is that they do, that just brings on more of the attractiveness towards your page, because it's adding more substance to it, opposed to just like a photo of someone who just looks nice. So like there's substance behind everything. And that's what's the really sexy part. It's like, sure, they're sexy of like, wow, that person is very striking, I'm going to definitely like listen to them and they're just amazing at how they look like. But oh wow, they have a lot of context. They're really smart. They provide value. There's so much substance behind them. That's when the sexy comes in.
What are some things that you absolutely refuse to do inside of social media, and that you will tell your guests don't do it?
Oh man, there's so many. Obviously, nothing that's harming in any other person. You don't want to post any of that kind of stuff. You don't want to post any like actual like sexual innuendos or anything like that. Like funny things, yes, that can be like, in a form of like sex innuendos, yes, but nothing like too bad. I always try to say like, keep it professional on social media. It is your digital resume if you're a content creator. So if you're if that's your digital resume, people are looking at you. So if you're trying to be a guest on podcasts and all of a sudden there's videos of you like blowing up at random people in the streets, or you just had a bad day and you're just like treating people bad, that's going to go on social media and people are going to look at that and they're not going to want you to be a guest on their podcast or on their shows or on their social media platforms yet either. You may have been big at some point, but doing something bad like that, like losing your composure, is definitely going to bring you down. And that's been happening a lot more so than lately. There's social media platforms out there like Baller Busters that have been, sharing people online and just like sharing all like the fraud stuff that they're doing, or maybe they're yelling at people when they shouldn't be yelling at people. It's just like they're losing their composure and people are just like, I'm done with that person. It's just like you were providing so much great value and I looked up to you, but you losing your shit online, basically, it's not a good look. So it's just like when you lose your composure online and taking it very serious of like really treating someone bad online when, you know, everyone's hiding behind their phones. They're just always going to be talking all this shit all the time, which is fine. Just don't give into it. You know, and I get it. There's like a point where like you just have to draw the line, but there's a way to go about it where it's not in a demeaning way, where it's going to make your brand look bad. You never want to tarnish your brand at any way possible.
I'm of the nature that that's pretty good life strategy. Never, ever, 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 ever let anybody else see you lose your cool. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is the higher the levels, the higher the devils, and that social media is not for the faint of heart. I love my beautiful bride so much, and you know, if she sees anybody comment negatively toward me on social media, she gets upset. It bothers her. And having been on stage my entire life since I was 7 years old, and having, you know, encountered haters at the age of 8, it's like they come with the territory. It's just a fact. What do you say to your clients to help them understand that, frankly, if half of the comments are hating on you and half of them are loving on you, you're probably right in the sweet spot.
Oh,
And if everybody's loving on you, you're clearly not bridging over to any other audiences. And again, it doesn't matter what I say. I could say I'm giving $1 million away, and someone would say, "You bastard! You have 100 million. You're only giving $1 million away. You SOB." And you know, it just. What do you say to people that don't anticipate that they're gonna get haters? You know, again, we gave away $13,500 on this show, barely made a peep. Nobody's paying attention. Either they don't think it's real or whatever. We got $7,000 up for grabs today. And you know, there's people that just say, "Oh yeah, that's not really happening." How do you train your clients to deal with haters?
You know, I always tell them good media is good media and bad media is good media. It's just one of those things that has just been coined since Trump's been in office. Basically, he's just like, "Hey, I'm getting media. That's good. You're hearing about me." And so, no matter what, whether it's good or bad, in social media perspectives, I'm just like, "Hey, people are commenting whether it's good or bad. You're getting engagement. You know, people are coming onto your page, whether, you know, they resonate with your message or they don't. People are building on your page. It's getting engagement. It's going to be doing good because eventually, because you are building this reach and these impressions, you're getting further ahead. The people that are your perfect audience, they're going to find you more because of the engagement that you're building. Do I need to make every single post controversial to build that engagement of like the negative and the positive? Not necessarily, but is it good to post something here and there that you really resonate with and you know might be a little bit controversial to post and know that it could get a lot of comments, a lot of saves, a lot of shares because of the bipolar sides of it? Absolutely. I would definitely go about it. When it comes to clients though, when they're reaching out saying like, "Hey, like I'm getting a lot of negative feedback, like what's going on?" You know, we go over the feedback. Is it on a comment? Like, is it comments or is it DMs? Like what's going on here? Are they ads? A lot of ads nowadays get a lot of negative feedback, you know, because there's a lot of people doing ads out there that, you know, probably shouldn't be doing ads or they don't have like a lot of substance to like their courses, their teachings, or whatever it is that they're doing. And so there's there's always negative feedback on comments on ads. So what we do is sometimes like if it's one negative comment, we'll delete it and that's fine. You know, it's just like, okay, just delete it. It's no harm, no foul. If it's multiple, but there's a mixture between the good and the bad, and all of a sudden your audience are fighting within, I'm like, just leave it. Let them do their thing. You know, like let them blow up your page. You stay quiet. You already mentioned what you had to say. You stay quiet and just watch the audience do their thing. The ones that are going to protect you and your name are going to show up. And the ones who aren't, well, they're just going to continue fighting. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you're going to get a lot of engagement on that post, which is great.
Trump and Musk come to mind as being two people that clearly understand social media. Obviously, they both own social media companies,
Yes.
but I really think that what you just said is very true. That again, you can't make people like you. And I see one of our number one fans, Atomic Wealth Strategies, mentions haters are better for engagement. And while I think that that's true, I also wonder, are haters good for business? I mean, do they end up the more people attack Trump, the more his popularity grows. The more the courts come after him and wrongfully do stuff to him. The more everybody else is going, well, heck, that could be me.
Yep.
Is there a certain amount of empathy that pops up if we see online people being unfairly attacked? I mean, I'm exhausted talking to idiots. I gave up a while ago talking to the idiots that say the dumbest things, and mostly it's the dumbest things against Trump.
Yes.
And again, I just surrender. I go to the gas pump and tell me how that's working out for you. That's all I can say. And well, you're trying to accuse somebody else of the gas prices. So what do I do? Am I too likable? Am I too nice? Am I not honest enough? And where's the fine line that keeps me on a social media platform rather than gets me kicked off? I'm a fan of Trump, clearly. And we had 155,000 followers on Twitter that were all cleared out in one day because I posted pro-Trump material on Twitter. Other people have said that's not why they wiped clean your account. And my response is there was no other reason. There was
Yes.
nothing else I said that was even remotely potentially offensive to somebody. It was the only reason. So, what do? You take somebody like Joe Rogan, who's so big, he can say whatever the F he wants to. And nobody's, Neil Young can't cancel him. So no John Doe's going to cancel him. What do you do? How do you play on that edge and still be authentic and still be real and not get canceled?
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to politics, it's one of those weird things where especially on the different social media platforms. On X, you can get away with a lot of things. On TikTok, yeah, maybe not so much and all that. It's Meta, especially, you cannot. As soon as you mention anything, the C word, like you cannot get away with anything. Like they'll instantly just like take you down right away. If you mention Trump, they'll go ahead and just like, put you down a little bit. And it's happened to me too. I'm a Trump supporter as well. And so I've actually posted about it and I see it. I take a look at the data and the analytics on everything. And so I've seen it on my stories where I get a few thousand views on my stories on a daily basis. And all of a sudden, by posting one thing on my story about Trump, about supporting him, I just get a few hundred. I'm like, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence for sure, and it's just like Meta is very, they definitely take a little bit more of an approach on, on the politics side of things. Not necessarily saying like if you post Biden, they're going to go ahead and increase your views or anything like that. But
I couldn't stoop that low.
Nor can I. Maybe if it's a funny meme, absolutely I can. But it's when it comes to that, it's like Joe Rogan definitely he's able to say what he wants when he wants, without getting canceled. Honestly, at this point, he should have been canceled a long time ago if it's based on everyone else's performance. And apparently it's not going to happen. It's just never going to happen. Trump.
It's kind of like, Ohtani. In baseball, in Major League Baseball, they axed Pete Rose out of admission into the Hall of Fame because he was gambling, not even on his own team. And when he gambled on his own team, he gambled for them to win. But Ohtani is in the middle of this massive gambling challenge, and there's no way in the world they're ever going to kick him out of the game because he's too big. He's the biggest player in the game right now. So is that the key? You just got to become so big?
Honestly, yes. Like either become so big or own your own.
So do I have to become
platform.
president and so they won't cancel me?
Or you can own your own social media platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, the distinctions in the platforms. Obviously, you mentioned you can do things on one platform you cannot do on the other platforms. And maybe this conversation will get us banned on the platforms we call out right now.
Probably.
But clearly Facebook and what
Instagram,
what Facebook did, and Zuckerberg specifically in the last election, they're clearly biased. And what other platforms do you think are biased, and then what platforms do you think are safest to be able to speak freely and openly like we're allowed to under the Constitution?
So to make this conversation a lot easier, the ones that are the easiest that you can get to say whatever you want, more of the freedom of speech, It's definitely X ever since Elon Musk took over, because he's a very big, proponent of that. And then Rumble as well. Rumble's is still on the on the up and up of it. Not a lot of people are on that platform just quite yet, but as soon as more time comes with like elections and all that, I feel like there's definitely going to be a surge on Rumble for sure on that, because it's freedom of speech. It's what we practice, what we preach on there. On Meta, it's definitely a lot more difficult to post what you want. A lot of things get banned. I remember when, the C word happened, it was very hard to even just mention it.
What's
And
this?
then,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
never
trying
mind.
not to mention it so we don't get banned.
Got it.
So it's like,
I don't think I've ever said the C word live on the air, but apparently we have different C words.
true, very true. The one in 2020, let's go with that one. So when people mention that, there's a reason why story views went down. There's a reason why people got, their posts got deleted. There's a reason for all of that. And that's because of the certain, like regulations that Meta had for Facebook, Instagram, and same thing with TikTok. And, like you can post a certain amount of things, but things get banned on TikTok too. It's not that easy. Like I posted myself, it's so funny how it is. I posted myself smoking a cigar. For anyone who walks into my pages, they know I love smoking cigars. That's who I am. It's part of what I do. And so every now and then I post a picture of smoking a cigar. I posted it on TikTok, now that you can post photos, and they instantly took it down. They're just like, this goes against our community guidelines. It's like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, can't do cigars, can't do smoking stuff, but I can see other people smoking from their bongs. I can see other people, drinking alcohol and all that, but not a cigar. Okay, noted. So there's
What if you
certain
smoke a
things,
cigar from a bong?
I mean, apparently you can.
So just strange. All
It's
the more
so
reason for us
strange.
to have our own platforms.
Absolutely. Honestly, like I would go on the more freedom of speech, whether it's something that I look at, like, that I think is right or whatever you think is right. It's just like, it's just freedom of speech and all. There should be no ceilings to what you post. You should be able to post whatever you want to post. That doesn't cause any harm to anyone, in
That's
that sense.
basically what the First Amendment says. That's what it says.
Basically, but apparently on social media, you can't really do that.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing in Vegas. If I go to Vegas and I sit down at a blackjack table and I kick their butt, they'll kick me out of the casino. And how do I know this? From firsthand experience. And their justification is we are not a public property. We're a private property. We can serve anybody we want to serve. And that's the veil that social media hides behind, is they say, hey, we're not a public platform, yet they are. Yet they are a public platform. And so that's obviously the challenge, is that I don't think the majority of the population is smart enough to recognize when all of a sudden on Meta, I have been getting a massive amount of far left leaning posts. I mean, absolute far left leaning, to the point where there's so many of them that something happened inside of the algorithm for me that makes the algorithm think I'm interested in this. But I'm going through and like I'm blocking every other post I've got on my
Yeah.
feed, because they're all saying kill Trump or tear down that wall or vaccines for everybody. And it's like, how did this get targeted to me? What did I say that made people think that I'm interested in this? Nothing. And
Nothing.
so
Yeah.
it's clear to me that what's going on is I'm being targeted, and I think about that hypnotically, how that wears people down. And if you keep hitting them with the same kind of content, the same kind of information, eventually somebody will it's interrogation. They'll just give in because they don't want to deal with you anymore. And so I think that that's what's going on. And most people don't realize how very powerful social media is. What do you think about like Truth Social? Any legs? Is it going to last? Is it just, popular because Trump owns it? What's going
I
on
do
with,
think it's very popular because Trump does own it, so there's substance behind it with the name that's associated with it. But, I don't think it's going to take off as much as other platforms are. It's like it's not fully established just yet. Maybe it will in a few years, but he did build an empire with hotels and all that. But it's not like if I go to Vegas, I'm not saying I want to go to the Trump Hotel. I'm still going to other hotels and all that. So, it's like, do I want him as president? Absolutely. But do I want him like, do I want to go on his social media platform, or do I want to go to his hotels? Probably not. Um, I don't think it's going to, and maybe I stand corrected, like maybe like down the line, I'm just like, wow, I really like hit myself in the foot right there with that one. But as of
Yeah,
right now, I
Tom
don't,
is smacking himself in the head right now.
yeah. I just don't know. I love the fact that it's going to be freedom of speech, and I love that absolutely, because that's the kind of platform that I would build. So, but I do think that because of like the amount of people that love and hate him, there's not going to be so many how there is on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So I think that's where there's going to be like this, communication breakdown for sure.
Do you think there's any validation to the idea that again, part of the reason I think that Truth Social has any legs at all is there's a segment of people. Somebody just posted. Pete Augustus just posted. It could be potentially people in the same home or the office using the internet that like certain things, which is why I'm getting that content. And all I can say to Pete is, if anybody in this household is liking that kind of content, I'm disowning them. They're not a member of my family anymore. So I don't think it's that. I do think it's a force feed. But the question is again, if I go to a party and it's all people that are diametrically opposed to me, there isn't anybody there that agrees with me, I just leave. I go, it's clearly not my place. I'm not welcome here, and I certainly don't want to be in this environment. Do you think that eventually social media will go that way? That again, I gave up answering idiots on Meta. I just gave up, saying anything to people because it's the dumbest stuff. And I think to myself, can you really believe that? How did you get to that conclusion? But that's like asking Jeffrey Dahmer, why did you eat people? He would simply say, because I liked it, because it was my pleasure. So, what do we do? I at this point, and I know because you're handling my social media, this, at this point, I don't have any real desire to go back on X, even though Elon owns it, only because I worked my tail off to generate 150,000 plus followers, all to have it taken away on a whim. Same thing with this show. In the second hour, we go into the vault so that I don't have to be as careful about what I say, and that I can, speak my mind again. I look forward to that time, like you said, where we have genuine freedom of speech, where we're not throttled because we have an opposing opinion to the current administration or any government entity. I mean, that's the whole point of the First Amendment. And I think that's the biggest challenge we're up against right now is you take a look at someone like an Ayn Rand who wrote Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead. And she talked about the fact that coming from communist Russia, she sees the same things going on in America right now, that we're being throttled. Our opinions are being held back. We're not allowed to say certain things. People are actually being put in jail over their social media posts, and it's reaching insanity. What is the solution?
Oh man, that's a tough one. It's just
Let me ask you a hard question instead.
yeah.
I'm joking.
I know,
Go ahead.
right? Yeah. Like that's definitely a tough one, because there are people going to jail for what they post on social media, and they're just based on like what it is that they follow and like what their intuition is, what their morals are, and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I'm like, if as long as you're not posting any harm to anyone, you should be free to post whatever you want. Absolutely you should. It's your social media platform at the end of the day. It's not the person next to you. It's not your neighbors. It's yours. So I'm not going to be posting their insights on my life. It's just like I'm going to be posting what I think and what I feel. Now, I do think though, like to your point on like, are we going to be leaving like Meta? Are we going to leave TikTok or anything? I think that's just very dependent on the person. There was a moment where I left TikTok because when it first started, it was just crazy dances and TikTok trends and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not interested in this. Like, it's for like little kids. Now we know that it's not for little kids. There's actual substance audiences in there, because the way their algorithm works, it's actually phenomenal. It's like one of the best algorithms I've dealt with. And, they really cater to what it is that you like on TikTok. And they also, they really do a good job posting you, making you go viral and sharing your voice and sharing, what your message is. So when it comes to meta and all that kind of stuff, you just got to be a little bit more careful, unfortunately, or you will get banned or you will get taken down. I've had clients' Facebook pages get taken down before because of what they've said in the past or what they've posted, which had no reason to get taken down. So it's very dependent. But I would say, when it comes to social media, is if there's no harm done, go ahead and post it if you really feel the need for it. If there's no need for it and you're just posting just to post, just to start something, it's just like, okay, think about it a little bit and then post it kind of thing, because people are looking at your social media platforms from Facebook, from Instagram, from if you're posting on YouTube also, they're watching. Like, people get paid to watch your stuff, and if they need to take it down, they will. So it's very dependent on like what you want to post. For me, I have not posted anything politically on my page because of the reason of I don't want to get taken down. I've already posted something with the C word before in the past in 2020, and have already like skewed my numbers and stuff. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm here to provide value in social media content and podcasting, and not necessarily like share who I'm going to vote for or anything like that.
Yeah.
At some point, maybe I would, especially when it comes down to election points, that like, people making certain comments, like Nick, for example, he's always posting funny memes that post out there that are like politically hilarious, where I'm just like, oh, that's a good one. I'm like, I'm surprised he hasn't been taken down.
Wow.
But, it's a fine line on social media. So you just got to play it smartly. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of social media platforms out there that you can speak 100% what you want without getting in any kind of trouble. So it's just walk the fine line and just make sure you're on the other side of it. And just, unless you don't matter if you do get canceled or anything like that.
So in your professional opinion, how much alcohol should I consume before I post online?
Well, I do know that both you and I are completely sober, so.
Yes. Yeah, that wasn't always the case, and I learned it the hard way. I certainly did, and I will from time to time see somebody to go off on a rant, and I'll tell my wife, I said, they're drinking.
Absolutely.
They're
And you can
drinking
tell
right
with
now.
like their voice, their tone, their eyes. I can always tell by their eyes.
Yeah,
Like, if they've been
and I always
drinking.
tell my wife, I say, my prediction is in 8 hours that post will be removed because they'll be sober.
Absolutely. And it's happened to me before. I think it's happened to everyone. It's happened to so many people where you just post something on your story and you had a few drinks and all that. And, you're just like, oh, and you delete it the next day. It's like the walk of shame of social media.
So talk to me about one last thing before we
Yeah.
wrap up. And I'm so glad to get you on the show. It's always a joy to talk to you. But talk to me, TikTok, obviously different format than other platforms. And I had a guest the other day who was telling me that they use TikTok purely as a billboard, basically. That they use TikTok to get people's quick attention, but they don't really post anything of massive value on TikTok because the format doesn't really allow for it. What are your thoughts on that? And is there a fish trap? Is there a way, an order of things that I should be looking at? Because I've not been big on TikTok. I don't even know if I have a TikTok account. You probably know more than I.
You
And
do.
if I have one,
We had to create a new one for you. Yeah. We had to create a new one for you.
So is there an order of things that I want to focus on? Do I want to create a lot of really short form content so that I can be sure people are checking me out on TikTok and going, oh, let's check out this guy's Instagram. Oh, we should become even more intimate with him. Go over to Meta. Is there an order?
Absolutely, there is. Like I mentioned earlier, TikTok has a beautiful algorithm, and I might get geeky on this one. The way that they promote people is far better than there is on Meta. It's up there with YouTube, just because YouTube you can do with the keywords and Google searches and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to TikTok on short form content and just social media in the palm of your hands, they have a way about it that can reach so many other people. So on TikTok, I would say you want to be posting as much as you possibly can. Yeah, and I'm talking about, you want to bombard your audience on TikTok. You want them to be on that platform as long as possible. So I'm saying between like 3-6 posts a day. You want to completely bombard your audience with all these short form reels that are shorter, maybe not so much context in it as like Instagram, but maybe like a series, like part 1, part 2, part 3. So that way people are constantly watching it in that sense. But we have seen with our clients that they go more viral on TikTok than they do on Instagram or on Facebook. So what we do is we leverage TikTok, and you can add your Instagram handle on there. But let's say they get to like 3 million followers, but on Instagram, they have 1 million. There's this big, huge discrepancy. But just like your guest had mentioned, it's yes, use TikTok as a billboard and funnel them into your Instagram where there's more substance, where there's more value to it. So that way that audience can get funneled into like the substance, and then eventually become the audience that you want, either, to join your memberships, to join your courses, to join like whatever agency you have or anything like that. So there's definitely like a funnel system in social media. It's like you want to feed the most on TikTok with like a short form content, and then it's going to go down into like Facebook and Instagram, and then back into your funnels to ultimately create more money in your pocket.
Before we wrap up, any last things you want to share with the audience?
One of the biggest things that I say on social media, everyone questions, how do I get started? The biggest tool you have right here is your phone. Is put your phone to do some videos on your phone, whether it's providing value or entertainment, whatever it may be. Another thing is also think about it as being the content, not creating the content. So for example, this podcast that we just did, we're going to take it up, splice it up, and post it all over social media. But it's already part of what we're doing already on a daily basis, doing the podcast. If I have social media calls with my social media managers, I'm recording that. So that way I can post on social media already. So I'm not making time in my day to record content. I'm just going about my day and recording the content that way. So it's very easy to get started. People just got to learn how, and just get out of their head. It's like, how do I look? Or am I saying something stupid? It takes repetition. That's all it is. Your first video is going to suck. I always tell everyone this, like, your first video is always going to be the worst one, but the 100 video is going to be far better. At least we hope it will be. It's going to be far better. So once you get started, it's easy game after that. Everyone should be on social media. If you are a content creator, provide value, provide education, and provide entertainment for your perfect audience. But yeah, other than
That
that,
note right there, what you just said was worth the entire time we've spent together. So I want to make sure everybody heard that. You said, to paraphrase, don't take time to shoot social media. Live your life in a way that it would be interesting enough to put on social media and then record it. So to that end, do you have a full-time videographer? Do you have full-time people that sit around? Is there, somebody that follows you through your day and watches you smoke cigars and through your bong?
through the bongs, yes. I created an Insta hubby. So I trained him very well.
In the nick of time. Yes, you did.
In the nick of time, yes. I trained him very well as far as videos, photos, and all that kind of stuff, my angles and all that. But when we do have events, we do reach out to videographers or photographers to really take like those really good substance videos and really good substance photos. But when it comes to like social media calls or just podcasts, thankfully I'm in the field, so I know how to set it all up. So it's very easy for me. But for other people, I would highly recommend, hiring someone that knows their stuff, and maybe just setting it up for you where you can just press play and be done with it.
Awesome. You are amazing. How do people get a hold of you if they'd like to find out how they can utilize your services to blow up their social media?
Absolutely. So they can DM me on Instagram at MoncyCMB, or you can shoot me an email at moncy@exposure-dm.com.
And last question. What kind of a name is Moncy, and what does it mean?
So my full name, and this is going to sound like a long paragraph. I hope we have 5 minutes left. It's Cecilia Montserrat Brambila Pavon. So it's a long name. I come from Mexican ancestry and all that. So Moncy is short for Montserrat. It's a Spanish name. I decided to be like Cher and just go with Moncy.
Got it. Got it. Well, you're awesome. Once again, Exposure Media, phenomenal people doing a great job for me, and I know they'll do a great job for you. So make sure you reach out. Until we meet, have an awesome day, and thanks so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate it.
Take care. We have amazing people every single day, and I'm so glad you could join us. I was looking at our numbers as to what we've got for daily viewership, daily downloads, and we're at about 13 to 1500 per day right now, which is not too bad for a brand new show. I'd like to get it up to 10,000. So I need your help. How can you help? Call me, baby. Catch me outside. Call me. All you got to do is go to studiomoney.info/live guests, where we'll check you out. Going into the second hour, we are about to escape to the vault. And in the vault, you can talk to me if you're interesting. You could win 10 ounces of pure Marshall silver. Say the secret word of the day, and you could win $7,000. I'll see you in the vault right after these videos.
Turning point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions. How to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
Isn't it time for your first million? Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do what you love and learn how to monetize that on a 7-figure level? Do you want to know exactly what you need to do and what not to do to have your biggest year ever? If not now, when? First Million. A 2-day subconscious learning experience that both teaches and programs you with the personality traits and habits of multimillionaires. At First Million, you'll learn how to take almost any wealth vehicle to a 7-figure level or better. You'll learn how to stop using vehicles that don't work, are too difficult, or simply unsuited for you. Making money is supposed to be fun. Stop living your life, getting ready to live your life, and start living a life of adventure. First Million was crafted to not just change what you do, it's also going to change who you are. Instead of trying to become a millionaire, you'll learn that you're already a millionaire, even if the money has not yet been deposited in your bank account. Beyond mindsets, you'll learn the actual personality traits of multimillionaires, so you'll naturally do what millionaires do to produce a similar result. One of the key personality traits of a millionaire is charisma. Imagine being able to walk into a room and without speaking a word, have the entire room drawn to you. Imagine others hanging on your every word, wanting to be near you, to be in business with you, and hungry to buy whatever you're selling. First Million will teach you how to use the charisma that politicians, entertainers, CEOs, and celebrities use to move nations and make millions. You'll also learn how to get more done in less time. You'll learn priority management and what the highest and best use of your time is. You'll learn laser-like focus upon IGAs, or income-generating activities, and you'll learn to let go of anything below your pay grade. What if you had more customers than you ever imagined? What if they came right to you and fought to buy from you? At First Million, you'll learn attraction marketing and strategies to get others to pay you for your marketing and advertising before they even purchase your offer. When you attend Your First Million, you'll begin to see an overwhelming amount of amazing opportunities all around you. You'll look through the matrix and easily identify target-rich environments. You'll learn dovetailing and stacking strategies to acquire more customers and do more business with the customers you already have. Unless something is sold, no money is made. Whether you're a sales pro, a novice, or even scared to death of selling something, Your First Million is going to have you fall in love with influence and enjoy it as the game that it is. When you believe in what you're selling, you're obligated to sell it. You'll learn exact language patterns of influence and persuasion. You'll learn how to get others to ask you for what you're selling and have them believe it was their idea. You'll become dynamically able to use arcing statements, direct links, embedded commands, and so much more. An entire tool belt of selling gambits will be yours after you get to Your First Million. As a First Million alumni, you will be clear on what you need to do to GTFM, or get the freaking money. You deserve great wealth, and Your First Million will help to raise your self-esteem around the topic of money. The amount of money you make will always be determined by your own self-image. You'll learn what billion-dollar corporations already know about outsourcing, how to get anything below your pay grade done for pennies on the dollar. Your First Million will give you the groundwork to understand presentation skills and the highest paid profession on the planet, public speaking. When you graduate from Your First Million, you'll be able to create presentations that inspire with confidence and power. If all that weren't enough, there's so much more. Making Your First Million is almost certainly going to require that you manage at least a small team. You'll walk out of the course with the knowledge of how to lead teams and synergistically get more done in less time. Technology has made our lives so much easier as we've learned how to harness it. The First Million course will teach you what is up to date and available in technology so that you can use that cutting-edge technology to get more done and have more fun. You'll also learn how to harness the power of the internet for massive passive profits. Every time you attend Your First Million, you'll learn new technology and internet marketing strategies, as these two portions of the class change every time you attend. It's like getting a brand new seminar each time you come. If you're a representative, you may attend Your First Million as often as you like, totally free, with your enrollment in the First Million course. If you're not yet a rep, or if you have not yet invested in Your First Million, enroll now. Everything begins in thought, and you know what you want to say. Go ahead, say it now. Say it out loud. I'm ready for my first million.
Hey there, baby. We are back and we are live in the vault. If you're brand new to the show, first hour, we have amazing guests like Moncy just now. We give you great content. In the second hour, we give you a chance to call into the studio and ask me questions about sex, money, power, everyday things. It appears to me that we have no callers in the studio. So to retrain you as a viewer and a listener, if we got no callers, we got no second hour. Have an awesome day. I'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m., same time, same bat channel. I'm Marshall Silver. Take good care of each other. See you tomorrow. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.